Alright, let's get into this. Dreamers Esports DayDream Illuvium tournament here for Illuvium Arena. Grand finals action once again here. This matchup just happened on August 19th. This happened just a couple hours ago, actually. We have our 8 players that had a very tough battle, honestly, for a Dreamers Esports tournament. Normally, we're hovering around the 16 to 24 player mark, but I think this time we were almost loaded up at about 30 some odd players, which was definitely impressive to see. I love to see that the community tournaments are growing alongside the IPL, and just competitive Illuvium in general has been taken off. Absolutely loving to see it. Get that full confirmation exactly how many players ended up competing. 29, so yeah, almost 30 players here in today's tournament. I don't want to say that's a record, but it's at least been a high since I've been casting it, so absolutely love to see it. Now, of course, our players here in this grand final, a couple of familiar faces, a couple of new faces as well. We got Arthalex, we have theFancyPants, which is the first time I think I've seen them here. FuryzHYPE, Winnie.Monarch, DttvAline, NoTComplain, OLA.Nareba, and then Maru, who I believe is also new here. Or at least it's the first time I'm seeing them here in this grand final that I happen to be casting. Of course, all is part of the Dream Ladder, so every event for about the month, I believe, all goes into a big ladder. How you finish here in these Dreamers Esports tournaments does give you points towards that ladder, which in the end can score you some prizes at the end of the month. It also includes team fight tactics as well, so keep that in mind. Maybe that's a benefit for you, maybe that's a hindrance, but it is an option. Of course, as always, if you want to get involved, links in the description. Take a look at FancyPants versus FuryzHYPE here for this time. Rogues for this side of FuryzHYPE, and Rogues on the side of FancyPants. And I tell you what, these Rogues diving immediately onto that fleece. I mean, poor fella, you're barely gonna even be able to get your beam off before you get taken down that time. And immediately, good blinds come on out here from the Chuko. And it is, not even the Chuko, it was the middle stage one coming out here from Fury. Tries to do its best, leads the charge in terms of damage on the team, but it is nothing compared to the damage we see here from FancyPants and their Greater Gorilla in particular. Of course, again, lots of players that we recognize. Of course, DttvAline, we've seen them here many times. I think that he maybe squeaked one win in here not too long ago. NoTComplain has secured a win here for sure, know that. Winnie.Monarch, I find them basically in every single grand final, but have not quite found the luck necessary to get themselves into a top 2. Definitely know that they are going to be eager for a win as we see them here up against NoTComplain. NoTComplain going for a very early Empath Aegis composition, since that Archos that we see in the top right does have the double stacks of that Elder Surge for some additional healing to the team. So anybody that huddles around that Archos is going to be healed up big time, but some big damage coming in immediately onto that Groko is going to break the line. I think that was really the only tank outside of the shields here for the side of NoTComplain, but there is some bodies falling here. Winnie with a very early Fur Knight as well, shooting from the edges, as well as that Lynx chopping away with that Fury Heart, doing a ton of damage. Is going to eventually fall, but with that Fur Knight pocketed by the Archie and the 2 Rogues on top of them, there is not going to be anything that NoTComplain can do this time. Big damage going to be coming out here for Winnie. Maru taking a lot of heat early on in this round. See NoTComplain once again going up against Nareba. Arthalex and FuryzHYPE. Arthalex is another one of those players that's always just been on the doorstep. Almost always, basically, in these Dreamers Esports tournaments, we see them within that top 5. As close as 3rd, if I recall correctly. As we see Arthal going up against FuryzHYPE. A very similar kind of corner style composition with the Archos that does have that steadfast pulse. So everything surrounding it is going to be getting additional mitigation every couple of seconds. But meanwhile, the Rogues and Predator style coming out here from the side of FuryzHYPE. We've seen it before. We're going to see it maybe again here. Can it burst through this very, very tanky style coming out here for Arthalex? So far, they were able to take care of one. They are on top of the Archos. Some decent damage being done, but at the same time, these Rogues are getting low. I think Arthalex will be able to hold the line. Some decent damage coming on in once again here. And a very, very early, I want to say Adordo coming on in here for the sign of Arthalex. Very, very early tier 5, as we do see another tier 5. Somebody had a Ramphy already, which is kind of crazy. Now, of course, one of the big topics that keeps seeing over and over again in the Discord is still people crying about Rogue Revenant, but an interesting thing seems to have kind of happened in a lot of these tournaments and a lot of these matches that I'm seeing. It's that, yes, people know about it, and a lot of people are going for it. So because a lot of people are going for it, nobody truly gets to go for it unless they're alive at the end of the game. And even then, before they used to see unstoppable, now they seem at least mortal. It's still good, but it doesn't look unbeatable. But we still do see people, like again, as we ride along with Maru as they go up against FuryzHYPE, who immediately went for Revenant. It's just, again, still very, very strong. Diving on through. So far, it looks pretty good here for FuryzHYPE. Maru, and their tank line is kind of split here. Gonna be able to take care of the one, and at least that Pyre in the back line has been able to just open fire up until the point that Grilla just dove right on top of them. Greater Grilla coming on through. It's just a matter of isolating out these tanks and taking them down now, and that will be a clean up here for FuryzHYPE. And of course, I have been taking your feedback in the YouTube comments section or in the Twitch, Kick, YouTube chats, wherever you may happen to be watching these. And I will put down the center ice view for now. It seems like a lot of people have been wanting me to do just like the default or pretty close to default kind of camera style. So I will for the matches itself. For these NPC rounds, I might have a little bit of fun, but in terms of the actual gameplay themselves, I will have it so that one team's on the bottom, one team's on top, and as best as possible, I'm going to make it so that the player in the green health bars is always the one with the higher health, and the one with the red health bars would be lower. Not always going to be perfect, but it is going to be something I'm trying to do. And the one thing that I do find kind of interesting as well, even though a lot of these players might be going for similar kind of play styles, there are some mixtures and some variations that are kind of nice to see. So even though it might be Rogue or it might be Rogue Revenant, some people are like putting in fire with it. Some people are going Earth. Some people are going Mud. I would say people are going Water, but let's be honest, nobody actually goes Water. You're either going for Rogues Fighters or a Nature Bunker comp. It seems like those are the top 3 kind of styles overall here that I've at least been seeing personally. But I'd love to be wrong, and I'd love to see something different. Currently taking a look at 2 of our players down at the bottom in terms of their health bars. We do see NoTComplain alongside Maru. Maru, 5 bulwarks, has that extra bonus reflective damage, has that Periox loaded up with items as well. Of course, you got Mindstorm, you got Chrono Flux, and the Fate Sealer. So that Periox is about as loaded and as good as it could be. Meanwhile, on the other side here, for the side of NoTComplain, loaded up with the 2 Elder Surges still, and the Super Chicken is ready. 2 Chrono Fluxes on that Fur Knight. Longer this game goes on, the scarier it's going to be, but it could be counteracted a little bit by that Periox up in the top right corner with the help of the TNT for a little bit of burst damage. In terms of the front line, it looks like so far Maru has been able to hold As the Periodic starts to load on up, and so does the Fur Knight. The Wildfire procs are coming on through. And how much can this Archos heal for, though? It is going to be taking all of the damage. It's going by pretty quickly. But at the same time, look at this Fur Knight. It is loaded up. Machine Gun Fur Knight coming up in just a second. 2 full health carries here. But there we go. Carry versus carry. And it is going to go into the favor of the Fur Knight. And now it's just a matter of dealing with that TNT. There it goes. The Super Chicken indeed. Coming in clutch once again. Not just 1 Chrono Flux, but 2 Machine Gun Chicken. Where did that sound come from? That had to have been an emo, right? That timing was just impeccable. But hopping along here towards the top half of the battle, we do see Ramp Fight loaded up and ready to play here for Nareba. That Apex Supercharger, Phoenix Surge, and the Chrono Flux on top of it. And hang on, that's not even Nareba's. That was actually FancyPants's. But Nareba has one of their own. Ion Shard, turning it into a Scion as well, alongside the Supercharger and the Octius. So not only is that Ramp Fight going to be able to knock enemies low, if not one shot, you have the backup from that Octius. And lots of items onto the Arctase as well. Lots of threats here on the side of Nareba as we see them dive on through. The Mammoth is there to catch. So far able to hang on tight. One does go down. Here comes one of the Ramp Fights. This is the one on the side of FancyPants. Does some pretty decent damage, but now here comes Nareba. It's going to be a clean sweep here. The positioning was strong. Coming in clutch here for Nareba. Had that Inferno procced as well for that extra little bit of damage. Meanwhile, FancyPants had the Bloom instead that you can't sustain if you're already dead. And that is going to be, of course, Nareba taking that one. Players have been getting pretty decent at actually trapping rogues now, making positions where they have to either do a little bit of a maze or have to awkwardly fight their way through and crawl through. But as we see the carousel, of course, these are some fully loaded items this time, fully loaded augments, no fragments this time, just strictly going to be loading. And it's weird to see the NoTComplain immediately goes for the Sunder Matrix. It's one of those augments that I would put pretty low on my priority list personally. Arthalex getting that Steadfast Pulse is definitely going to be clutch, though. They were playing a bunker composition. They have the Archos, so we know exactly where that is going. Didn't catch everything else at the time being, but we'll keep on rolling here. Nareba back once again here with that Inferno style, going up against Winnie.Monarch now. Winnie up on the right-hand side has a lot of items onto their tank. The Twine is there. It has the Vengeful Mantle for that extra thorns. Also has the Apex Supercharger as well, so those vines are going to actually hit pretty hard. Meanwhile, on the other side, that Fur Knight is, of course, locked and loaded, or as Winnie's Fur Knight locked and loaded as well, putting it up front, ready to go, as the Twine is in the back line, and so is the Flare and Heady to try and catch the rogues. How much value does this or not the Monarch, but the Arctase plus Ramp Fight combo go? It does take down the Twine, but so far that's it, but there is enough bodies here to just clean up. The Octius firing off shots from the background as well. The Ranger actually flanking in and taking shots as well. Pretty well uncontested. Some beautiful damage coming out here from the side of Nareba once again. But the Arctase leading the charge, even over the Ramp Fight, making that Carpet Bomb work for them. The Arctase is just such an interesting unit to me, or the Ace Arctase or the Monarch, because the Carpet Bomb, or just the laying down the fire trail, and the damage it does over time, I never find it very, very valuable, but again, I think I'm probably just undervaluing the dot, and I'm seeing more and more players catch on to this and start actually using it properly. Before, the only time that you'd really get the Arctase is just to try and get the Inferno proc, but people are doing a very good job now of itemizing it, getting the proper item or the augments on top of it. and making it do a ton of damage. We see NoTComplainHYPE once again, but this time it's going to be alongside DttvAline, who's running the 5 fighters, 3 bulwarks, with the fully leveled up Lynx actually going to be the one leading the charge. Does manage to have the polar bear up to stage 2 as well. Has the forest in here as well. That ace got nearly one shot, but thankfully due to that Ion Shroud, they are going to be able to get a dodge for just a second. Here comes the ramp fight. To the skies it goes. Burns down 3. Just a matter of dealing with the twine, and then the Lynx up into the north side. Carpet bomb gonna land directly on top of Lynx. It's gonna sit in the flames, and that Lynx is not long for this world. NoTComplainHYPE putting DttvAline in a little bit of a world of hurt this time. And that's exactly how it goes. Ramp fight, 7,000 damage in that fight when it is able to find itself in a perfect position for those Omega abilities. Meanwhile, that Lynx on the side of DttvAline, I think it led the lobby, or not the lobby, but led that match with 8,000 DPS. The thing was doing work, and it has a little bit of burst damage, but unfortunately, it could only go so far so fast. It had the Mendo skeleton as well to try and keep itself sustained through that fight as it snowballed through. But could not get the job done this time. But as we go for another NPC round, taking a look at Arthalex's squad, we're seeing the double steadfast pulse coming on through, and this is just scary because those do stack. From what I understand, that does stack. So that's every 3 seconds, I believe, or every 4 seconds you get 3 mitigation. So you're getting 6 mitigation to anything that actually surrounds the Archos in that 20 hex space. And if they manage to get to the a yellow fragment, they can maybe make a chance to try and get a 3rd steadfast pulse, which would be absolutely ridiculous. A little all in, but pretty ridiculous. Would really rely on you to make sure that everybody doesn't move, and sure enough, there it is. 3 steadfast pulses onto a single Archos. So this thing is going to be giving out 9 mitigation to everybody on its team within 20 hexes. Going to be extremely valuable as we go up against the FancyPants, who has the rogues, has the revenants, the tried and true, coming on through with 2 major health buffs on its Ladura as well, and of course a fully loaded ramp fight. This is a scary composition, a scary team. Can they tank this, though? The first proc should be coming on through. Here comes the heal going across the entire team here for Arthalex, and so far, even throughout the ramp fight ult, it is going to be tanked through. The Cardinal is going to be the first to fall. The Crunk is going to be probably right there as well. Good blind, though, slowing things down. The second ramp fight ult, though, is going to be right on target. The front line is starting to fall. The Archos is going to fall, so is the Fur Knight. It is all down to the Dordo, and it is not going to be able to hold the line. A very respectable job here from this bunker composition of Arthalex, but we're seeing FancyPants do exactly what they needed to do with the Rogue Revenants and coming in clutch. The fact they have that fully loaded ramp fight is doing some nasty work for them. But we might be on the point where we start getting players on the bubble. Winnie.Monarch, once again, I don't mean to commentators curse them, but again, having a very, very rough start to this one. And what on earth is this build? Of course, we know that they have that Fur Knight completely loaded up with that Fury Heart and Fate Sealer, but what is going on with the Crunk? We have that thing with the Vengeful Mantle, so sure enough, with the barbs and whatnot, or a little bit of thorns, but the 2 Apex Superchargers? That is absolutely bonkers. Meanwhile, FancyPants not only had that ramp fight, but now the Umber has come out to play, and the Malura, they've managed to find the fully evolved version. So the Super Tank Rogue coming on through, gave it the Phoenix Shroud as well. And we see again, ramp fight coming out to play, and it's just not looking too good here For the side of Winnie.Monarch, that Umber has basically been untouched. Periox is going to fall, Fernight's going to fall, but Winnie.Monarch shall not fall. Not yet. Hanging on by a thread here with 3 health. And trying to make this nature, fire, wildfire kind of start, this kind of composition working, but don't know if they're just missing a critical piece or what, because they do feel, at least personally, it feels like they are kind of lost at the moment. I'm not 100% sure as to what the Crunk would want so much Omega power for, unless I am missing something, which is absolutely possible. Maybe instead of explaining augments, next time it'll be explaining alluvial abilities. That way I get to learn a little bit as well. But Winnie now going up against DttvAline, and oh dear god, that is a cracked out polar bear. Jotun ready to play Mendo Skeleton Power Diverter alongside the Veil Piercer. So as this goes on, it's not going to miss, and its Omega power going over towards attack speed is just going to make it a menace. Look how fast In the Lynx just chunked both of those alluvials. Now it's on to the Crunk, and even with the blinds, it does not matter. They're going to absolutely crush you. The Archos is supposed to be tanky, but it gets completely shredded on through. The Lynx coming on through to take care of the Singe as well, and one after another they're going to fall. The entire squad coming out here from DttvAline to absolutely send Winnie.Monarch packing with a solid top 8 finish here in this tournament, but unfortunately first out in this lobby. So lobby as it stands right now, FuryzHYPE leading the charge alongside newcomer FancyPants. With of course Maru and NoTComplain on the bubble. DttvAline in third as this moment, hanging on. Nareba still here, Arthalex still here of course as well. I'm going to probably ride along here with this one, and let's see if Maru has enough firepower to put the hurt in here onto Arthalex's bunker. We do see the Archos with a little bit more of a reserved position, all the way in the back line here for Arthalex, compared to trying to be the center of the team. Just really focusing on trying to keep that healer, the deer, as well as the Fur Knight topped off. Doesn't necessarily matter so much about the tanks, which is risky in its own right, but I guess when you're used to dealing with the rogues, that is something to keep in mind. But Maru is not worried about playing as a rogue. They are, of course, Scion Bulwark Harbinger. We'll have to see how this one ends up going. A lot of damage into the backline early into this one. The deer is going to be able to save them, but a lot of damage coming out from what feels like nowhere. Going to take care of the deer. The Fur Knight gets stunned up there in perfect timing here by the Goliath on the side of Maru, and they are pushing on through. And this is exactly why it's so scary as the bunker to try and take this reserve position. The tanks were vulnerable that entire time, and one way or another, Arthalex just took so much damage in the backline as well, and they're just going to try their best to tear on through. Now they're holding the line. Maybe those steadfast pulses are finally enough to hold. The overtime is coming on through, but the overtime pulses are still too much. Arthalex going to take the damage this time, putting themselves now on the bubble. Going to give himself first pick now as we go into this carousel. NoTComplain, we did lose them, unfortunately, here in this lobby as well. I'm going to be taken down in the 7th position. Maru looking for the flare, maybe to coincide alongside that Periox would be awesome. Arthalex, they did have the twine already, maybe looking for that Gnarl. Nareba, of course, again also had that ramp fight already going. Get the ramp feed, pick it on up. Fury's got the dash for an additional rogue. DttvAline did not quite see what they picked up this time, but you can kind of see all these picks making sense for the most part here. And FancyPants picking up a stabbing. So, of course, that's the middle evolution of the Penguin. And we've seen what happens when the Penguins happen to just be left alone. If they get supercharged, if they get items, it's going to be scary. But FuryzHYPE was Rogue Revenant, 5 fighters, 3 bulwarks, and 2 behemoths here for the side of DttvAline. Rogue Revenant as well, coming out here from FancyPants. 7 Rogue, 3 Revenant, 2 Vanguards, because of course they have the Malura, so the extra tank there could be a difference maker. Nareba, Air, Fire, Inferno, of course, relying on that ramp fight Arctis combination. Maru's got the Magma. They did manage to get the Singe, so we're able to get the Magma composition, make that corner a little bit more sustainable, a little bit safer for themselves as they go on through. Arthalex still hanging on to Nature Wildfire, but of course Maru and Arthalex are here on the bubble. The pressure is on here for Maru. We do see that Arctis has evolved into the Monarch, fully evolved. And this is something that I've seen a couple of players too, that Nareba's kind of showcasing. Why are all of the units, why are all the Illuvials off the board with the exception of the 2 Phantoms? Because if you, the way that it is right now, I think it's your composite crate, or the crates in terms of trying to get what kind of roles and classes and affinities. It is based off of your board, not your bench. So if you actually clear your board with the exception of certain Illuvials, you give yourself a better chance at getting the class or affinity that you want. And it might have came in clutch here for Nareba with the 6 Scions, 3 Phantoms, and that is some disgusting damage coming out here from Nareba. It wasn't necessarily perfect, it wasn't pretty, but here comes the cleanup crew to seal the deal. Maru, solid run, but you have been eliminated. On the other end, of course, Arthalex was still in this as well. Did they hang on? No, they didn't either. So we lose 2 in that round. Arthalex is going to find themselves in 6th, Maru with a 5th place finish. We are down to our top 4 here in the Streamers Esports DayDream Illuvium tournament. 3 Infernos for Nareba, up against the 5 Fighters, 3 Bulwarks, and the Behemoths. Here for DttvAline. Of course, that Jotunn, this thing needs an elimination. Those 2 items it does have on it require takedowns in order to be effective. But it does have the extra backup of that fully powered Earth Lynx, diving in directly towards that Mammoth, already chunking it down to half. But here comes the reinforcements. Where's the damage? Here comes the ramp fight to the skies. And that Lynx absolutely got chunked, gonna be taken down. It is all up to the Singe and all up to the Jotunn to try and make this work. The Rangers are duking it out in the corner as well. But actually, the sustain might be enough here. They snowballed hard enough. The Jotunn is gonna carry DttvAline to the victory in a well-placed, well-fought-out battle. Even though the Lynx ran into the ramp fight and got taken down pretty well immediately, it did not matter, because that's the beauty of the Mendo skeleton in particular. Every single time you get a takedown, you heal. That bearer is so close to being taken down on a few occasions, but they found the takedown necessary to keep it alive, and alongside the Vorpal was able to get the job done. Was an absolute nasty menace as we now go. Nareba once again on the bubble up against FuryzHYPE. Rogue's Revenant alongside the Scions and the Phantoms. The poor Quinks in the bottom right is going to get immediately murdered. Meanwhile, Nareba's Mammoth has been soaking the damage nice and cleanly so far here for the red side. Where is the ramp fight? Should be popping up in a second, but the opponents run away, but they don't run away far enough. It's up to the Infernos to try and get the job done, and I don't think they get it done this time. Nareba gonna fall in 4th. Your podium has been decided, but now it's just a matter of where these players end up finishing. DttvAline, FuryzHYPE, and the FancyPants. FancyPants, I believe this is one of their first tournaments here for us. I don't even think they were in the Discord at the time of this tournament, finding themselves in a top 3. But FuryzHYPE and DttvAline going up against it. It's going to be FancyPants going up against, I believe it was FuryzHYPE's Ghost, so we'll have to see what it makes of that later. But the awkward thing here for this battle for Fury, and I believe for the FancyPants, is they're both going for some version of Rogue Revenant. So both of these players want each other taken down immediately so they can start rolling and trying to find the rest of their team, because they're basically hindering themselves. It's setting up DttvAline for a good position to maybe clean up this lobby before their team can be completely flushed out, as we do see again DttvAline with many members, the Lynx, Jotun, and the Singe, or the Seer rather, now. So many Illuvials still alive. As we go into another NPC round, probably the last one in theory before the game finishes, we'll have to see. So we see here DttvAline opting for the Frost, completely ignoring any sort of Rogue Revenant stuff, going for Fighter Behemoth Bulwark, where Behemoths, of course, they heal every single, or no, not heal, they deal a percentage of their max health as physical damage, and they stun as well. If they manage to find themselves a 4th Behemoth and gets the attack speed buff, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, this is what I'm talking about. FancyPants going for 7 Rogue, 4 Revenant. They have all 4, they have the Vanguard on top of it, opting for a Bloom and Fire style, but they do not necessarily have fully evolved units as of this moment right now. And that's because FancyPants and FuryzHYPE have both been fighting for the damn same Illuvials. So, granted, FuryzHYPE does have the fully evolved Tiru, which of course has one of the Revenants, but it's so far into the game and everybody's leveled up so far that even if he does get eliminated, I'm not sure if you'd be able to roll for the fully evolved Tiru. You only have like a 10% chance at like level 7 or something like that, right? So the Illuvials that FancyPants would want to take from FuryzHYPE might not matter if FuryzHYPE even goes down. These two are going to actually battle it out here. FuryzHYPE's going to go up against the Ghost of FancyPants. DttvAline up against, I believe it was FancyPants, but we'll have to see. I'm curious as to how this one works out. And a nasty fully loaded slash in here now for the side of FancyPants. Going to be absolutely nasty. He's got that Chronoflux, but here comes the ramp fight as well. Lots of low health bars on both sides. To be fair, it's actually pretty close. The numbers advantage is barely in the favor of FancyPants. And I think, never mind, it's been put down. Furyz just has to deal with the Penguin, but they're not going to be able to deal with the Penguin. It's already too fast and too far gone. FuryzHYPE has fallen out of this tournament here in the 3rd position. Now it is all up to DttvAline and FancyPants. But again, of course, now that FuryzHYPE has been eliminated, all of those rogues have been put back onto the table. But again, are we too far gone into the game to be able to get some of those early rogues, some of those early Revenants? You see, FancyPants just took the Fighter emblem instead. The one Tiru was there. We do see actually DttvAline did take it. So oddly enough, situation there. But now, as we go into this possible final round here for this DayDream tournament for Illuvium Arena, DttvAline versus the FancyPants, and what is, I believe, FancyPants' first attempt at a DayDream tournament, or at least the first time that I've seen them on stream here in a grand final. Rogue Revenant, I mean, they've got what is stated to be probably the best team composition in the game, with some of the best Illuvials in the game as well, but it is up to DttvAline, their fighters, Behemoths. They did get the 4 Behemoths alongside the Bulwarks to try and get the job done. They also have a Stabin trying to get into the fight as well, but all eyes are going to be on that Lynx, that Forest, and that Jotun. And here comes the ramp fight. to the skies as well. Does some pretty decent damage, takes care of the foe. It's a 3-on-4, but there's a lot of high health bars. That Jotun is extremely low, but the Mendo skeleton coming on through. It hangs on by a bit, but it's not even needed. The rest of the team is going to be able to clean up. That Seer and that Lynx clean everything up, and that is going to be this Dreamers Esports DayDream Illuvium tournaments going over to DttvAline. They're fighters and behemoths alongside a couple bulwarks. Gonna get the job done. 4-3 frost and air. Shutting down the Rose and Revenants of FuryzHYPE and theFancyPants. What a run. Of course, DttvAline, like I was saying, the 5 fighters and bulwarks and behemoths. Meanwhile, FancyPants, 7 rogue, 4 revenant, and the 2 phantoms. Similar idea here for Fury's, 7 rogue, 4 revenant, but they opted to go for the 4 mud, which was pretty interesting, but barely fell to the FancyPants and their slashing. OLA.Nareba going to end up falling, going for the heavy Scion composition. Scion Phantom with the Fire and Inferno style was cool to watch, but ends up falling 4th. Maru with a very respectable finish here in 5th with the 5 bulwarks, 2 harbingers, and the 2 empaths. Just looking to hold the line there with that magma style composition. Scoriox did work, but not enough this time. Arthalex went for the nature wildfire style with the 5 bulwarks, 4 empaths. Had the Aegis buff as well. Well, not to complain. Something similar here, but opted for the Templar variant, and then something very similar here for Winnie.Monarch with the 6 nature, 4 fire, 2 wildfires, the 4 bulwarks, and empaths.